In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the changes to developmental English advising for summer and fall of 2019. First of all, just a reminder and an overview of developmental English. Currently, there are 3 developmental reading courses, 002, 003, and 007 offered on some campuses, which is a combination of 002 and 003. There are 2 developmental writing courses, 050 and 051, along with an accelerated section of 051 that combines 051 and 101 together in the same semester. There's also one integrated reading and writing course called English 057, which is Critical Connections in Reading and Writing, which is a 3-credit course that fulfills both 003 and 051 requirements. The goal of developmental English is to prepare students to be successful in English 101 or 110 and beyond. And you'll notice there I have just the differences between 101 and 110. They share a lot of things in common. One of the major differences is that English 101 is required for most majors, while 110 is required for specific, usually more technical majors in the AAS degree program. 110 may not be transferable, but 101 is. What's new in developmental English advising? First of all, we're using multiple measures for placement into 101 or 051, developmental writing. One of those multiple measures is now using high school GPA, which can help to bump a student's placement. It's also important to realize that how faculty see test scores is changing from Banner 8 self-serve to Banner 9 self-serve. And just note that when you hear Banner self-serve, it's only the side of what we see in HackWeb of Banner. So it's what we faculty see when we go into HackWeb that is called Banner self-serve. The new multiple measures, well, high school GPA is one of them. We're taking high school GPA into account for English writing placement. Currently, high school GPA is being entered into secondary education and, if able to be standardized, into testing as HGPA. At this point, HGPA, high school GPA, is entered into student test scores or testing only if it's on a 4.0 scale. The way that you can use high school GPA, you can only use high school GPA if it appears either in student test scores, Banner 8, testing, Banner 9, or SOA test in Banner. High school transcripts are not required at Hack. Currently, only about 30% of students submit them. We're hoping that that will go up. But the most important thing to remember is that you cannot use high school GPA as placement unless it appears under student test scores, Banner 8 self-serve, testing, Banner 9 self-serve, or SOA test in Banner. Where do you find these new advising guides? There's 2 ways. First of all, you can go into MyHack and look under Quick Links, and at the bottom you'll find the Developmental Education Forum. Click on that and then click on Advising Resources. The other way is under Advising Services on the Faculty tab of MyHack. Both have the same information. Now here's an example of where you can see the difference between Banner 8 and Banner 9. Banner 9 is what is available when you look at class lists and advisee lists under the Faculty tab of MyHack. HackWeb is Banner 8, and that's when you click on HackWeb. That takes you into Banner 8, what we have been normally seen and what we are more comfortable with as faculty. I would encourage you to look at the class list because it's interesting information, and I think in some ways it's going to be easier as we make this transition. So here's an example of how Banner 8 on the self-serve side looks in placement scores. So here you see student test scores and you see all of the test codes and their descriptions. If HGPA was on this list, it would appear between evidence-based reading, writing score, and math because it's alphabetical. Now here's Banner 9. What you will see now, if you go under the Banner 9 self-serve or under the Faculty tab of class lists. And you'll notice that there is testing. And when underneath testing, if high school GPA, it would appear in between English writing sample and high school biology completed. You'll notice that there is a GPA listed here up under secondary education, but you cannot use that for placement. It's only used for placement if it appears down here, and that means it's been standardized using a 4.0 scale. Here's two examples of HSGPA appearing. This top one, this is Banner 8, what you're probably used to seeing, where it says student test scores viewed from SOA test. And you'll notice HSGPA is 1.8. In Banner 9, you'll notice HSGPA, high school GPA, is also 1.8. So this is where you're going to see it if you can use it. Currently, there are 3 different English placement tests that you'll see. There's the English writing sample, which is a score from 1 to 8, the Next Gen reading, which is a score from 200 to 300, and the Classic Accuplacer, which will say CPRC reading, which is a score from 20 to 120. I also have there what the codes are in Banner 8 and Banner 9. There is a narrative and a flowchart available. The flowchart is where you can just follow the arrows until you find the appropriate placement, and the narrative is where you can follow the table form. Both have the same information, both have the old Classic Accuplacer, and they are just 2 different ways to show the same information, depending how you would prefer to see it. Here's a little bit more of a close-up of the English placement flowchart. You'll notice the first thing you do is look at the reading score. If the reading score is between 200 and 228 in Next Gen, or 57 and below, this is the chart that you would use. This is the tree. If their score is between 229 and 250 in Next Gen, or 58 to 75, this is the tree. If there's no reading required, meaning the Next Gen is greater than 250, and CPTS, their reading comprehension is 76 and above, you would use this one. You'll see here, if a student scores into 002, which is a placement of 200 to 228 in Next Gen, or 57 and below in Classic, then you look at their writing score. If they scored a 1, they get placed into 050. If they score a 2 and high school GPA is known, and it's greater than 2.8, that's what bumps them up into 051. If there's no high school GPA if the high school GPA is not known, or it's less than 2.8, that's where they would take 050. And then the others remain the same as they have been. If a student scores into 003, which is a Next Gen placement of 229 to 250, or the old Accuplacer 58 to 75, the Classic, if their writing sample is a 1 to 2, 050, 3 to 4, the preferred placement is 057, which is that combination of 003 and 051 together. And if their score is 5 to 8, then they can take 003 along with 101 or 110. This is the other place that things have changed. If you look, if there's no reading required, if a student has tested out of reading, meaning their Next Gen score is 251 or above, or their Classic is 76 and above, then there are a couple things that you have to look at. If they scored a 1 and a 2, and their high school GPA is unknown, then they have to go into 050. If their high school GPA is greater than 3.0, they do not have to take developmental writing. If their score is a 3 and their high school GPA is greater than 3.0, they do not have to take developmental writing. If they score a 3 and their high school GPA is unknown, or it's less than 3, then they would have to take 051. They could conceivably take the accelerated 051 with English 101, depending on your campus. The other change is if they test out of reading and they test a 4 in the writing, then no developmental writing is required, and they can go right to 101. So that's the biggest difference. These scores are valid for 5 years from taking the placement tests. The old scores are available on both the narrative and the flowchart. And to remember, use the highest placement even if a newer placement test has a lower score. Just a caution. Our goal is to involve students in the decision of whether or not they want to be bumped from 050 to 051 or 051 to 101. Students should have some say in their placement. If they don't feel like they're ready to go to that next level, they can stay in the level where they've tested. It's up to the student. So here's several examples. This is the same student, and it appears both in Banner 9 and Banner 8. And if you'll notice, their English writing sample is a 3, and their next gen is a 244. And that's true in both charts. A 3 and a 244 in next gen. So that student is eligible for 057, the preferred placement, or they could take 003 and 051 separately. Here's another example. You'll notice this one has a number of scores. So they have 3 different tests in reading, a 41, a 61, and a next gen 233, and 2 tests in writing, a 4 and a 5. The 5 means the student does not have to take any developmental writing, and that score means that a student tests into 003 by their reading placement and 101 by their writing placement. There was no high school's transcript listed in this one. Let's say a student has a next gen score of 216, a writing sample of 2, a reading comprehension, classic reading comprehension 41, and a high school GPA. Where would they place? Well, 228 and below means a 002 placement. A 41 also means a 002 placement. The 2 in their writing placement normally means that they would take 050, but because their high school GPA is a 3.2, that bumps them up into that 051. So that student could take 002 and 051. Now here's an example where there's no known high school GPA. So they scored a 3, they scored a 4, and in next gen they scored a 230 and 245. So their reading placement, highest reading placement is 003. Their highest writing placement is a 4. So that student could take 057, or they could take 003 and 051 separately. Here's an English writing sample of a 3, a high school GPA of a 3.2, a next gen of 258. The 258 means this student tested out of reading. Their high school GPA is greater than a 3, and so even though they have a 3 in their writing sample, that student is eligible for 101 or 110, no developmental reading, writing required. And finally, here's a student who scored a 4 on the English writing sample, scored out of reading by getting a 260, which is greater than that 250. That student is also eligible for 101 or 110, no developmental reading or writing required. If you need more information, feel free to contact me, or if you have any questions, my name is Linda Minninger. You can also contact Christine Noack, who is the English Department Chair. We would be glad to answer any questions that you have. Curriculum counselors are also knowledgeable about these placements. So I wish you good luck as you place our new students into their appropriate level of English. Thank you.